Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today's July 28th, 2025. This is the Uncommon News Channel, and in today's video, we're going to take a close look at one of the executive orders that President Trump recently signed. This executive order is titled Ending Crime and Disorder on America's Streets. This executive order encourages state and local jurisdictions to commit homeless people to psych wards against their will. And no, that is not an exaggeration. It applies to all homeless people, regardless of whether or not they have a mental disorder or are addicted to drugs. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at that in this video. This executive order is not only a direct violation of the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment, it is also a direct violation against several Supreme Court rulings, such as Jackson v. Indiana, Olmstead v. LC, and O'Connor v. Donaldson. Without further ado, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the text itself and the violations of the United States Constitution. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so this is the text of the EO directly from the White House's website. If you want to refer to the whole executive order on your own, you can go to whitehouse.gov, take a look at executive actions, and look at this specific executive order. Let's go ahead and read it word for word real quickly. You can go ahead and do a full screen on this if you can't see the whole thing and read along with me. Otherwise, just take a listen to what it says. Section 2, Restoring Civil Commitment. The Attorney General, in consultation with the Secretary of Health and Human Services, shall take appropriate action to seek, in appropriate cases, the reversal of federal or state judicial precedents and the termination of consent decrees that impede the United States policy of encouraging civil commitment of individuals with mental illness who pose risk to themselves or the public or are living on the streets and cannot care for themselves. Think about that for a second. They want to reverse consent decrees to institutionalize homeless people. Make no mistake about it. They want to toss homeless people straight into a psych ward without due process against their will. And it says it clear as day right here. And it's clear as day in another section. We'll go ahead and take a look at it as well. Right here on Section 3, Subsection 4, you can see where it clearly says, enforce and where necessary, adopt standards that address individuals who are a danger to themselves or others and suffer from serious mental illness or substance abuse use disorder, or who are living on the streets and cannot care for themselves. See, it says or, right? This means homeless people specifically, okay? It specifically applies to all homeless people. And I want you to fully grasp what they are authorizing here. They want to institutionalize all homeless people, and that is not an exaggeration. Ladies and gentlemen, this executive order is a direct violation of the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment and Supreme Court precedents. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment first, and then take a look at the Supreme Court rulings on this matter. I don't think any commentary is needed for the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment, so we're going to go ahead and just read the text as it appears. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. The Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. Ladies and gentlemen, not one of these rights will be afforded to a homeless person that is being forced, nay, kidnapped and institutionalized against their will. Now let's take a look at some of the relevant Supreme Court rulings. Jackson v. Indiana, 1972. This case involved a deaf-mute individual who was indefinitely committed after being found incompetent to stand trial. The court invalidated the statute allowing for indefinite commitment, stating that individuals cannot be held without a clear finding of their dangerousness or need for treatment. Olmstead v. LC, 1999. This case involved two women with mental disabilities who were confined in a Georgia hospital while awaiting community-based treatment. The court held that Americans with Disability Act requires states to provide community-based services rather than institutionalization when appropriate. The ruling emphasized that unnecessary institutionalization constitutes discrimination based on disability. O'Connor v. Donaldson, 1975. Kenneth Donaldson was confined for 15 years in a Florida mental hospital without treatment. He argued that his confinement violated his constitutional rights. The Supreme Court ruled that a state cannot constitutionally confine a non-dangerous individual who is capable of living safely in freedom. The mere presence of mental illness does not justify involuntary confinement if the individual poses no danger to themselves or others. These rulings collectively emphasize the importance of individual rights and the necessity for states to provide appropriate treatment options outside of institutional settings. They highlight that involuntary confinement is not justified solely based on mental illness. Community-based treatment is preferred when it is safe and feasible, and individuals have the right to refuse treatment unless they pose a danger to themselves or others. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to emphasize the fact that this executive order is attempting to legalize the federal, state, and local kidnapping of homeless people that pose no risk to themselves or society. This is a direct violation. It is an affront to the United States Constitution, and it must not stand. And as true patriots, we must point out the propagandists that are being paid to promote this wickedness, this affront to the United States Constitution. They are, in fact, enemies of the United States Constitution, and they must be called out. Do not stay silent on this, ladies and gentlemen. Speak up before it's you and your loved ones who are taken and tossed into a dungeon, never to see the light of day again.
Steel jackets crack the heavy air. Freedom's roar, you see the flare. Chains shatter under rebels' cries. Boundless we fight while their empire dies. Outnumber, outrun, outgun them all. Hands grasped tight, we answer the call. No empire can chain what won't comply. Where freedom's tied, their end is nigh.